I remember the day my son told me to leave. The words cut deeper than any physical pain, echoing in the empty space that was once my home, my sanctuary. To be cast out by your own child from the very place you built a life is a unique kind of devastation. It was a moment where my world crumbled, and I felt a profound sense of abandonment, questioning everything I believed in. Many of you may have experienced moments of profound loss or betrayal, feeling utterly alone and bewildered by life's unexpected turns. Perhaps you've questioned where God is in your darkest hours, when circumstances seem too overwhelming to bear. This story isn't about placing blame. It's about navigating that crushing emptiness and finding a light when despair threatens to consume you entirely. In this journey, I want to share my personal experience of being forced out of my home and how, over the years, I gradually began to see a deeper, divine purpose in what felt like an insurmountable tragedy. We'll explore the raw emotions, the spiritual struggles, and the unexpected ways grace manifested itself, leading to a profound transformation, not an easy fix, but a testament to enduring faith. As someone who has walked through that fire and emerged with a deeper understanding of God's unwavering presence, even amidst the ashes of what once was, I feel called to share this narrative. My credentials aren't academic. They are etched into the very fabric of my lived experience. A journey from profound sorrow to an undeniable, quiet hope that I pray resonates with your own heart. The shock of that day, the sheer disbelief that my own son could take such an action, was just the beginning. To truly grasp the magnitude of what unfolded, it's essential to first understand the life I had built, the relationship I shared with my son, and the stable foundations I believed were unbreakable before everything changed. My life before that fateful day was, in many ways, conventional and filled with purpose. I had dedicated decades to raising my children, nurturing a home that was always open and contributing to my community. The house itself wasn't just bricks and mortar, it was a repository of memories, laughter, and the steady rhythm of family life, a place where I truly believed I would spend my golden years. The concept of home, for me, was deeply intertwined with security and belonging. It represented the culmination of years of hard work, sacrifices, and the unwavering belief in the sanctity of family. This wasn't merely a physical address, but a spiritual anchor, embodying comfort, identity, and the comforting predictability that we often take for granted until it's abruptly stripped away. In families, dynamics can be complex, and relationships, even the strongest, can become strained by unspoken expectations, differing life paths, or external pressures. While I always strove for harmony, sometimes a parent's best intentions can be misconstrued, or generational gaps can lead to misunderstandings that fester, slowly eroding trust and open communication, often without either party fully realizing the depth of the divide. Think of a majestic oak tree, deeply rooted and seemingly indestructible, providing shade and shelter for generations. You trust its strength, its permanence. Then imagine a sudden, unexpected storm, not from the sky, but from within its own roots, causing it to crack and crumble. That unexpected internal fracture is precisely how the stability of my family and home felt to me. Understanding this background, this deep-seated belief in my home and family as my rock, is crucial to grasping the profound disorientation that followed. It wasn't just a change of address, it was an earthquake of the soul. That day, when my son uttered those devastating words, the ground beneath me truly gave way, and I was plunged into an unknown abyss. The conversation began calmly, as many difficult discussions do. My son arrived, seemingly with a purpose, and soon his voice took on a tone I barely recognized, firm, unyielding, and utterly devoid of the warmth I had known. He explained his reasons, which felt like thinly veiled excuses, citing financial burdens and a need for independence, as if my presence was a burden. The words, "You have to leave," hung in the air, heavy and absolute. I remember feeling a cold shock, as if the blood had drained from my veins. My mind raced, trying to grasp the reality, to find a loophole, a misunderstanding, anything that could undo the pronouncement. But his gaze was resolute, leaving no room for negotiation or appeal. I asked, "Where will I go?" A question filled with a desperation I had never known. The reply was vague, dismissive. You'll figure it out. The house, my sanctuary, suddenly felt like a cage, then an enemy. Every familiar object seemed to mock me with its stable presence, while my own future dissolved into a frightening void. The immediate aftermath was a blur of disbelief and raw pain. I felt a betrayal so profound it shook the very foundations of my being. How could the child I had nurtured, protected, and loved unconditionally be the one to sever our bond so ruthlessly? It was an emotional wound that seemed to have no balm, no possible healing in sight. This initial devastation, the feeling of utter powerlessness and abandonment, became the unexpected starting point of a journey I never anticipated. With no clear destination, I stepped out of what was once my home, carrying only a small bag and an immense weight of sorrow, wondering if God had simply forgotten me. That first night away from my home felt like an eternity. I found myself in a temporary, unfamiliar space, the silence deafening, punctuated only by my own ragged breathing and the questions swirling in my mind. Sleep was impossible. Every thought was a replay of his words, a fresh stab of disbelief. The comfort of routine, of a familiar bed, was gone, replaced by a chilling void. The immediate challenge was purely practical. Where would I truly go? My resources were limited, and my sense of stability shattered. It wasn't just about finding a roof over my head. It was about reconstructing an entire life, piece by agonizing piece, without a blueprint. The weight of this monumental task felt almost unbearable in my state of shock. I remember thinking about friends, family, but a profound shame kept me from reaching out immediately. How could I explain this? How could I articulate the pain of being rejected by my own child without feeling like a failure? This isolation, self-imposed yet deeply felt, amplified the sense of being utterly alone in the world. During those early days, simple tasks became Herculean efforts. Eating, sleeping, even thinking clearly felt impossible. My spiritual life, which had always been a source of strength, now felt distant, obscured by a thick fog of doubt and anger. I prayed, but the words felt hollow, echoing unanswered into a seemingly empty sky. This period of profound disorientation wasn't merely a physical displacement, it was a spiritual wilderness. But even in that wilderness, as I grappled with questions about faith and purpose, subtle shifts began to occur, hinting at connections I would only later perceive. In the midst of that chaos, a flicker of something unexpected began to emerge. It wasn't a grand miracle or a sudden revelation, but rather small, almost imperceptible acts of kindness from unexpected sources. A neighbor, sensing my distress, offered a warm meal without prying. An old acquaintance extended an invitation for coffee, simply to listen. These gentle gestures, initially received with a guarded heart, slowly began to chip away at the walls of despair I had built around myself. They were not solutions to my predicament, but they were vital affirmations of human connection, reminders that I was not completely invisible, not entirely forgotten in the world. My usual routine was obliterated, forcing me into new patterns and interactions. I found myself frequenting a local library, not just for shelter, but for the quiet company and the accidental conversations with strangers. Each interaction, however brief, provided a tiny anchor in the vast sea of uncertainty that defined my new reality. It was during one of these quiet moments, sifting through books, that I stumbled upon a passage about resilience in adversity and a verse from Scripture about God's steadfast love, even when forsaken. It wasn't a thunderbolt, but a soft, warm whisper that reminded me of a deeper truth I had momentarily forgotten. These initial encounters and internal shifts, seemingly small and coincidental, served a crucial purpose. They were subtle invitations to look beyond my immediate pain, preparing my heart to consider that perhaps, just perhaps, there was something more at play in my story, a path I wasn't yet able to discern. As the initial shock began to subside, a new, more profound struggle emerged, grappling with my faith. I had always believed in a loving, benevolent God, a God who protected his children. Yet this experience felt like a direct contradiction to everything I had been taught, everything I had felt was true. I wrestled with raw, honest questions in my prayers. Why me, Lord? Where were you when this happened? Did I do something wrong to deserve this? These weren't doubts born of malice, but of deep, aching hurt, seeking understanding in a situation that felt utterly senseless and profoundly unjust. Many who experience deep loss or betrayal find themselves in this spiritual crucible, questioning the very foundations of their belief. It's a natural, albeit painful, part of the human journey. It's in these moments of vulnerability that faith isn't lost, but often refined, stripped of its superficial layers to reveal its true, resilient core. I allowed myself to feel the anger, the frustration, the deep sadness, without guilt. I realized that authentic faith doesn't demand perfect serenity. It allows for honest lament. This period of wrestling was essential, a necessary darkness before any dawn could break through, allowing me to process emotions rather than suppress them. This intense personal struggle with God, however isolating it felt at the time, was, in retrospect, vital. It was through this relentless questioning that I inadvertently opened myself up to answers that wouldn't come in the way I expected, beginning a dialogue with the divine that would slowly reveal itself in new and unexpected ways. One night, after a particularly draining day of searching for affordable housing, I had a vivid dream. My late mother appeared, her presence radiating a familiar warmth and peace. She didn't speak in words, but her gaze conveyed an unwavering message. Hold on, I'm here. He is here. It felt intensely real, a spiritual embrace from beyond. This dream wasn't a magic solution to my housing problem, but it was a powerful, comforting sign. It felt like a direct whisper from the divine, delivered through the gentle memory of someone I loved deeply. It was a tangible reassurance that even when I felt most alone, I was not forgotten by those in heaven or by God Himself. Such experiences, whether dreams, coincidences, or quiet inner promptings, serve as profound reminders of God's active involvement in our lives, even when we can't see the full picture. They are often precisely what's needed to sustain us when our human strength and understanding have reached their limits, offering a glimpse of something larger at play. This dream sparked a subtle shift within me, rekindling a fragile ember of hope. It reminded me that faith isn't just about what you can see or logically explain. It's about trusting in an unseen hand, believing in a love that transcends earthly circumstances and pain. It was the first step away from utter despair. Receiving such a personal sign made me reflect more deeply on other subtle signals I might have missed. It opened my eyes to the possibility that God's communication isn't always overt. Sometimes it's found in the quietest, most personal corners of our hearts, guiding us towards the next crucial phase of understanding. With a renewed, albeit fragile sense of hope, I began to reconsider my son's actions. It wasn't about excusing them, but attempting to understand the complex web of emotions and circumstances that might have led him to such a drastic decision. I realized that holding on to bitterness was only hurting me, poisoning any chance of moving forward. This wasn't about condoning his behavior, but about the deeply personal work of forgiveness. Forgiveness, I learned, isn't about letting the other person off the hook. It's about releasing yourself from the prison of resentment and anger. It's a process, not a single event, and it required immense spiritual effort and prayer. I started praying for him, not for my own vindication, but for his well-being, for peace in his heart, and for God's guidance in his life. This act of intercession, though difficult, slowly began to soften the hard edges of my own pain. It was a step towards healing, both for my soul and for the possibility of future reconciliation. This spiritual exercise taught me a profound truth. Even when human relationships break down, our connection to God can remain strong and even strengthen. Forgiveness, in this context, became an act of faith, a belief that even in brokenness, there is potential for redemption and a deeper understanding of grace. The journey toward understanding and forgiveness paved the way for something transformative within me. It wasn't merely about emotional release. It was about preparing my spirit to receive the next layer of revelation, to recognize that God's purpose might not just be for my future, but also for my inner peace. As I slowly processed the emotional upheaval, a new and unexpected path began to unfold before me. Without the obligations of maintaining a large home, I found myself with more time and a different kind of freedom, albeit born from loss. I started volunteering at a local community center, initially just to fill the hours, but it quickly became more. The center served families facing various hardships, job loss, illness, displacement. It was here, listening to others share their struggles, that I found a strange resonance. My own pain, though distinct, allowed me to connect with their experiences on a deeply empathetic level. I wasn't just helping, I was truly understanding. This shift from being the one needing help to being the one offering it was profoundly healing. It showed me that even when my own life felt broken, I still possessed the capacity to bring comfort and support to others. This newfound purpose began to fill the void that my son's actions had created. I discovered hidden strengths and a resilience I never knew I possessed. Engaging with the community, learning new skills, and simply being present for others helped me to redefine my identity, not by what I had lost, but by what I could still offer. It was a tangible way to live out my faith, beyond just prayer. This discovery of a new purpose, a calling to serve in a way I hadn't before, was more than just a distraction. It was a clear signpost. It was as if God had gently redirected my path, showing me that even when one door closes, another, often more meaningful, will open, leading me towards deeper insights into His plan. The more I immersed myself in serving others, the more I began to notice a recurring theme. People drawn to me, sharing their stories of profound loss, a widowed mother, a son alienated from his family, individuals feeling utterly abandoned. They saw in me, perhaps, a reflection of their own hidden grief. I found myself sharing parts of my own journey, not as a lament, but as a testimony of navigating pain with faith. My son threw me out of my house, I would sometimes say, and I thought God had forgotten me, but something else unfolded. This openness created a powerful bond, a shared space of vulnerability and hope. Many expressed that hearing my experience gave them courage to face their own challenges, to believe that light could indeed follow darkness. They would often tell me, I thought I was alone in feeling this way, and my story became a bridge, connecting them to a broader community of those seeking comfort and resilience. This unexpected role as a confidant and source of inspiration wasn't something I had sought or even imagined. It felt divinely appointed, a direct consequence of my own suffering. It was becoming clear that my personal hardship was not just for my own growth, but also for the encouragement of others who walked similar paths. This growing realization profoundly shifted my perspective. The pain of my past was not erased, but it was being repurposed, transformed into a vessel of hope. It was in these interactions, seeing my story help others, that a deeper layer of God's intricate plan for my life began to truly reveal itself. This experience taught me a profound lesson about the nature of God's purpose. It's rarely about preventing pain entirely, but often about using our deepest wounds as pathways to unexpected strength and compassion. It was through my own profound loss that I developed a sensitivity and empathy I wouldn't have otherwise possessed. I started to understand that God's plan is not always logical or comfortable from our human perspective. Sometimes it involves allowing us to walk through fire, to be stripped of what we hold dear, so that something new, something stronger and more rooted in divine grace, can emerge from the ashes of our former lives. This wasn't an easy revelation. It required letting go of my preconceived notions of how life should be and embracing the often uncomfortable reality of how it is. It meant trusting that even in the most bewildering circumstances, there is an unseen hand guiding, a larger tapestry being woven that I could only see threads of. My personal experience became a living testament to biblical truths I had always believed intellectually, but now understood experientially. Verses about enduring trials, finding strength in weakness, and God working all things for good took on a vivid personal meaning that resonated in my very soul. As I absorbed these deeper truths, the anger and confusion surrounding my son's actions began to recede further. I was moving beyond merely surviving the loss. I was actively transforming it, preparing for a period of true spiritual clarity and a tangible understanding of what God was cultivating. The concept of home itself, underwent a radical transformation in my mind. It was no longer solely about a physical structure or the people within it. My home became an internal space, a sanctuary built not of wood and stone, but of faith, resilience, and an unshakable connection to the divine. This new home was portable, unshakable, and always accessible. This internal shift meant that external circumstances, while still impactful, no longer held the power to utterly devastate me. I had found a source of stability that was independent of worldly possessions or even the actions of loved ones. My peace became rooted in something eternal, not temporal. I realized that God had, in a sense, liberated me from certain attachments I hadn't even recognized I had. While the initial method was incredibly painful, the outcome was a freedom from dependency on external validations and a deeper reliance on my spiritual core. It was a stripping away that revealed genuine strength. This newfound internal home also allowed me to reevaluate my relationship with my son without the burden of resentment. I could see him as an individual on his own journey, imperfect and flawed, just as I am. This perspective allowed for genuine compassion, even if full reconciliation remained a complex and personal process. This transformation of my understanding of home and security was foundational. It set the stage for me to not only navigate my personal journey with newfound grace, but also to truly articulate the enduring message of faith in adversity that I now felt compelled to share with a wider audience. Looking back, the emotional landscape of my journey was akin to navigating a winding mountain path. There were steep ascents of courage, treacherous descents into despair, and unexpected plateaus of peace. Each twist and turn, however painful, revealed a new vista, a deeper understanding of myself and God. The pain, once a heavy cloak, slowly became a teacher. It taught me patience, humility, and the profound difference between material security and spiritual stability. It stripped away illusions and forced me to confront my deepest fears, ultimately revealing a stronger, more authentic version of myself. I learned that true strength is not the absence of fear or pain, but the willingness to walk through it, to feel it fully, and to still believe in goodness and purpose on the other side. This realization was not theoretical. It was forged in the crucible of my daily struggles, in every small step forward I took. This process of emotional and spiritual growth was not linear, nor was it without setbacks. There were days when despair would creep back in, when I questioned everything. But each time, the memory of that dream, or a quiet whisper in my heart, would pull me back, reminding me of the subtle unfolding of God's plan. My ability to navigate these emotional complexities was deeply tied to my growing spiritual fortitude. It became evident that these internal changes were not just coping mechanisms, but integral parts of the larger divine purpose that was gradually being unveiled, leading me towards a renewed sense of belonging. One of the most profound aspects of this journey was the complete shift in my understanding of belonging. Losing my physical home and the immediate family structure I cherished forced me to seek community in entirely new ways. This led me to a group of women at the community center, all with their own stories of resilience. We shared our experiences, our heartaches, and our small victories. In their company, I found a sisterhood, a chosen family that offered unwavering support, understanding, and love. These were connections forged not by blood, but by shared humanity and a mutual journey of healing and hope. This new community became a vibrant testament to the fact that God provides, often not in the ways we expect, but precisely in the ways we need. They offered practical help, emotional solace, and a spiritual lifeline, proving that even when one door closes, the possibility of new, meaningful relationships emerges. I realized that while my son's actions had taken away one form of belonging, they had inadvertently opened the door to another, richer and more expansive one. This broader sense of connection, rooted in shared faith and mutual support, became a new cornerstone of my rebuilt life. This evolution in my understanding of belonging was crucial. It confirmed that God had not abandoned me to isolation, but was, in fact, guiding me towards a network of support designed to foster growth and continued service, connecting me to a much grander design. The unfolding of God's purpose, often doesn't come with a grand declaration or a clear blueprint from the outset. Instead, it reveals itself in layers, much like peeling back an onion, with each layer bringing more clarity to the overall design. For me, these layers often came through unexpected conversations and quiet moments of reflection. I began to see my life not as a series of random misfortunes, but as a meticulously crafted narrative, where even the most painful chapters served a profound purpose. The hardship of being displaced cultivated within me a deep empathy for others facing similar vulnerabilities, enhancing my ability to connect and serve authentically. One particular instance stands out. I met a young woman at the center who had been evicted from her apartment with her children. Her despair mirrored my own initial feelings. As I listened, truly listened, I was able to offer not just advice, but a deep, shared understanding, reminding her that hope exists even when it feels invisible. In that moment, I understood that my experience wasn't just for me. It was a tool, a testimony, a beacon for others. My story, once a source of shame, had become a source of strength, enabling me to guide someone else through their darkest hour. This was a clear example of how God repurposes pain. This revelation that my personal journey of loss was directly equipping me to help others in specific and profound ways was a powerful confirmation. It underscored the belief that even our most heartbreaking experiences can be woven into a larger, meaningful tapestry of divine intention and human connection. The true profundity of God's purpose began to crystallize years after the initial incident. It wasn't about getting my old life back, but about realizing the invaluable gifts that emerged from the rubble of my past. The greatest gift was an unshakable faith, forged in the fires of adversity, far stronger than any I possessed before. This faith isn't a naive optimism. It's a deep-seated assurance that even when life is chaotic and unjust, there is an underlying divine order, a loving hand guiding every step. It's the peace that comes from knowing that even when everything seems finished, God is still in control. This became my anchor. I also found a new voice, a story to tell that wasn't about bitterness, but about transformation. This voice allows me to connect with those silently struggling, offering a beacon of hope and practical wisdom gained through hard-won experience. It's a purpose that transcends personal gain, focusing on shared spiritual growth. The freedom from material attachments, initially imposed, became a liberation. I learned that true wealth lies not in possessions, but in resilient spirit, loving relationships, and an unwavering connection to the divine. This perspective brought a lightness and contentment I hadn't known before. These cumulative insights, emerging years after the initial pain, coalesced into a clear understanding. I realized that my son's actions, while deeply hurtful, had been an unwitting catalyst for a profound spiritual awakening, preparing me to embrace a new chapter that would require immense courage and reliance on divine strength. The journey wasn't without its challenges. Even with renewed faith, the emotional scars remained, a reminder of what was lost. However, the presence of God felt more tangible, more real than ever before, becoming a constant companion through the lingering shadows. I learned to lean into that presence, especially during moments of doubt. There were times when I questioned if I had truly forgiven my son, or if the hurt would ever fully dissipate. These moments were important, reminding me that healing is not a destination, but an ongoing process. I found solace in prayer and in the shared wisdom of my new community, who understood the complexities of such pain. I often prayed for my son, not just for his peace, but for wisdom to understand his own journey. This act of continued prayer, detached from personal outcome, further solidified my own healing, demonstrating that compassion can bloom even in the most difficult soils. It was a testament to enduring love, even when tested. My perspective expanded beyond my immediate circumstances. I began to see my story as part of a larger narrative of human suffering and divine redemption, realizing that countless others walk similar paths. This broader view brought a profound sense of connection and purpose, making my pain less isolated. This ongoing process of healing and spiritual expansion was critical. It continuously reinforced the message that God's work in our lives is multifaceted, often using our most painful experiences to forge deeper wisdom and compassion, leading me to a clearer understanding of my new role in the world. In my newfound role, I often encounter individuals who echo my past feelings. "I thought God had forgotten me." This phrase, so close to my own former lament, serves as a powerful reminder of the universality of spiritual doubt amidst hardship. My journey allows me to meet them not with platitudes, but with authentic empathy. I share not just the outcome of my journey, but the messy, painful process itself, the tears, the questions, the moments of despair. It's in these raw truths that people find genuine connection, recognizing their own struggles in my story, and realizing they are not alone in their spiritual wrestling. This vulnerability, once a source of shame, became my greatest asset. It allows me to convey a message of hope that is grounded in reality, not fantasy. I can honestly say, it was incredibly hard, but God was there, even when I couldn't see Him. And that authenticity resonates deeply with those seeking genuine comfort. My experience has also led me to share practical steps for navigating such loss, focusing on small victories, seeking supportive communities, and maintaining a dialogue with God, however raw or angry it may be. These are not grand solutions, but real, actionable ways to rebuild when everything feels broken. This evolving service to others has been a profound revelation, demonstrating how God transforms personal tragedy into a wellspring of wisdom and solace for many. It confirms that the purpose, once obscured by pain, is now brightly shining, guiding me toward opportunities to make a real difference. The unexpected nature of God's timing has also been a significant revelation. When I was thrown out, I desperately wanted immediate answers, immediate relief. However, the purpose only became clear years later, as the title of my story implies. This taught me immense patience and trust in divine orchestration. I learned that true understanding often requires the passage of time, allowing emotions to settle and perspectives to broaden. It's like watching a painting being created. You can't fully appreciate the masterpiece until all the colors are blended and the final strokes are applied. Our lives are often similar. This delayed understanding reinforced the biblical principle that God's ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts deeper than our thoughts. What seemed like senseless suffering at the time was, in hindsight, a meticulously planned redirection, setting me on a course I could never have imagined for myself. This perspective has been profoundly liberating. It has helped me release the need for instant gratification or immediate solutions, cultivating a deeper trust in God's perfect timing. It means embracing the journey even when the destination is still unclear, knowing that clarity will come when it's meant to. Understanding this temporal aspect of divine purpose has allowed me to impart this patience to others, encouraging them not to despair if their answers aren't immediate. It's an important piece of the mosaic, guiding me towards a deeper appreciation for God's subtle yet powerful hand in our lives. Through this entire process, I have come to appreciate the profound truth that God never wastes our pain. Every tear, every moment of fear, every instance of doubt was not in vain. Instead, these experiences were diligently collected, refined, and ultimately repurposed to forge a stronger, more empathetic, and more faithful spirit within me. My suffering became a unique form of training, preparing me for a mission I didn't know I had. Without having walked through that specific valley of abandonment and betrayal, I would not possess the authentic voice and deep understanding necessary to truly connect with others facing similar feelings of loss and despair. This realization transformed my perception of my past. It no longer feels like a chapter to be ashamed of or hidden, but rather a powerful, integral part of my story, a testament to God's incredible redemptive power. It is a source of strength, not weakness, allowing me to speak with authority and genuine compassion. It's a testament to the belief that even from the most broken pieces of our lives, God can create something beautiful and purposeful. This isn't about glossing over the pain, but about recognizing the miraculous alchemy of grace that turns ashes into beauty and sorrow into joy, albeit a different kind of joy. This deep conviction that my pain was purposeful became a cornerstone of my message. It now guides every interaction, every word of encouragement, solidifying my resolve to continue sharing this transformative truth with others who might be struggling to find meaning in their own moments of hardship. The question of reconciliation with my son is one I often face, both internally and externally. It's a complex path, and not every story ends with a storybook reunion. My journey taught me that while forgiveness is essential for personal healing, reconciliation requires both parties to be willing and receptive. I hold no bitterness, for that would only imprison my own heart. I have forgiven him, not for him, but for my own peace. However, for a relationship to truly mend, there must be mutual acknowledgement, repentance, and a willingness to rebuild trust, steps that are not always possible or healthy to force. My prayers for him continue, prayers for his well-being, his spiritual growth, and for God's hand in his life. I have released the expectation of what our relationship should be, embracing instead the peace that comes from surrendering the outcome to a higher power, trusting in God's ultimate plan for both of us. This understanding of reconciliation, distinct from forgiveness, became another layer of my spiritual growth. It taught me the wisdom of boundaries, the importance of self-preservation, and the profound grace that allows us to love from a distance, if that is what is necessary for true healing. This ongoing journey, with its complexities and nuanced understandings, is crucial to my message. It highlights that God's purpose is not always about immediate restoration of the familiar, but often about profound transformation that leads to a deeper, more resilient kind of peace and wisdom. The profound transformation in my life ultimately led me to a place where I felt compelled to share my story more widely. It was not enough to simply live it. The lessons learned, the insights gained, and the renewed faith felt too significant to keep to myself. This became a new, explicit calling. I realized that my narrative, raw and deeply personal, held the power to resonate with countless others who felt abandoned, lost, or betrayed. It was a testament to the enduring presence of God, even when everything else crumbles around us, a message desperately needed in a world filled with suffering. This was no longer just about my healing. It was about stewardship of a testimony. My pain had been sanctified, repurposed into a vessel for divine hope. It was a responsibility to use my experience to point others toward the unwavering love and control of God, even amidst life's most tumultuous storms. Sharing this story openly requires courage and continued vulnerability. It means revisiting painful memories, not to dwell in them, but to extract the lessons and illuminate the path forward. It's a labor of love, driven by the desire to offer genuine comfort and inspiration to those who need it most. This commitment to sharing my journey became a pivotal part of my understanding of God's purpose for me. It was clear that my personal hardship had equipped me to be a voice of hope and resilience, moving me closer to fulfilling a unique mission that only my specific experiences could enable. A significant part of God's purpose, as it unfolded, was my rediscovery of my own inner strength and resilience. Before being thrown out, I sometimes defined myself by my roles as a mother and homemaker. Losing these external markers forced me to look inward, discovering an unshakable core. I found capabilities I never knew I possessed: an ability to adapt, to navigate financial challenges with limited resources, and to build new relationships from scratch. Each small victory, each obstacle overcome, became a testament to a strength that was always there, but perhaps dormant under layers of comfort. This personal rediscovery was deeply empowering. It showed me that true resilience isn't about being immune to hardship, but about bending without breaking, about finding creative solutions, and about drawing on an inner wellspring of determination when all external support seems to vanish. This realization wasn't about self-reliance in isolation, but about understanding that God had equipped me with these inner resources all along. My challenge was to tap into them, to trust in His provisioning not just through external aid, but also through the fortitude He had instilled within my very being. This awakening of my inner strength became a critical part of my testimony. It demonstrated that God's purpose often involves revealing our inherent resilience, preparing us for greater impact, and deepening our trust in His unwavering support, even when we feel weakest. Another vital aspect of understanding God's purpose was the profound clarification of what truly matters in life. When you lose everything tangible, the ephemeral nature of possessions becomes starkly apparent. What truly endures are relationships, faith, and the kindness you extend to others. I learned to cherish moments over material things, authentic connections over superficial acquaintances, and spiritual growth over worldly achievements. This reprioritization wasn't a philosophical exercise. It was a visceral, lived experience that reshaped my values from the ground up. This clarity brought a deep sense of peace. It eliminated much of the striving and anxiety that had subtly permeated my former life, replacing it with a contentment rooted in simplicity and genuine purpose. It was a liberation from the tyranny of more and an embrace of enough. The experience, though painful, served as a divine stripping away, revealing the core truths that often get obscured by life's complexities. It was a forceful redirection to what truly holds eternal value, aligning my heart and mind with God's priorities in a way I hadn't fully grasped before. This profound recalibration of my values wasn't just for my own benefit. It became a powerful part of the message I now carry, demonstrating that loss can, paradoxically, lead to immense gain when it forces us to reevaluate our lives and embrace what truly matters, guiding others to a similar wisdom. One of the most profound and unexpected aspects of my journey was how my experience allowed me to counsel others experiencing similar family estrangements or profound betrayals. Many people carry the silent burden of being cut off by a child, a parent, or a sibling, often feeling isolated and ashamed. When I share my story, their eyes often light up with recognition, a sense of, finally, someone understands. I can speak to the specific ache of being rejected by your own flesh and blood, the confusion, and the lingering questions, offering a safe space for them to unburden their hearts without judgment. I encourage them to focus on their own healing, to process their grief, and to understand that their worth is not defined by another person's actions. We discuss the possibility of forgiveness as an internal process, even if reconciliation remains distant, emphasizing their own spiritual well-being. This unexpected mentorship role feels like a sacred trust. It's a direct outcome of my suffering, a way that God has redeemed my pain by allowing me to be a vessel of comfort and guidance for those who are walking through their own, equally agonizing valleys of family discord. This specific application of my experience underscores the beautiful, transformative power of God's purpose. It shows how personal tragedy can be transmuted into a profound capacity for empathy and service, allowing me to fulfill a unique calling that emerged from the very depths of my sorrow. Another vital lesson that crystallized years later was the understanding that God's love is not conditional on our circumstances or even on the actions of others towards us. Even in the depths of feeling rejected by my son, God's steadfast love for me never wavered, though my perception of it certainly did. It took time, reflection, and quiet prayer to fully internalize this truth. I had to unlearn the subtle, often subconscious belief that if something bad happened, it was a punishment or a sign of being abandoned by God. This journey taught me about unconditional grace in the most profound way. My experience became a living testament to the biblical assurance that nothing can separate us from the love of God. Not betrayal, not homelessness, not despair. This foundational truth became a powerful shield against the whispers of doubt and the assaults of negative circumstances. This unwavering love, once a concept, became a lived reality, a constant presence that sustained me when all else failed. It was the source of my strength, my hope, and my ability to look beyond my immediate pain to a larger, more benevolent plan at work in my life. Embracing this unconditional love was not just personally transformative, it shaped my message to others. It allowed me to assure them that no matter what pain they endure, God's love remains constant, always seeking to draw them closer, even in the midst of their most profound losses. The slow process of healing meant acknowledging the intricate layers of grief. It wasn't just grief for the loss of a home, but for the loss of a perceived future, for the imagined relationship with my son, and for the simple, comforting familiarity of the life I once knew. Each layer required its own space and time. I learned that true healing isn't about forgetting or pretending the pain never happened. It's about integrating the experience into your life story, acknowledging its impact, and finding a way to move forward without being defined solely by it. It's about transforming scars into sources of strength. This often involved allowing myself to feel the sadness without judgment, to cry when tears came, and to process the feelings of injustice. I found that suppressing these emotions only prolonged the healing process. Acknowledging them, however painful, was the first step towards release. My spiritual journey deeply informed this healing. I found solace in the Psalms, in the honest laments of ancient writers who wrestled with God and found comfort. Their words mirrored my own heart, assuring me that expressing sorrow to God was not a sign of weak faith, but of authentic relationship. This comprehensive approach to healing, embracing both emotional processing and spiritual comfort, was a crucial part of God's purpose for me. It equipped me not only to endure my own pain, but to offer a holistic understanding of true recovery to those I now serve. A surprising outcome of my experience was the development of a unique inner stillness, a calm that emerged from the eye of the storm. When you've lost everything material, you learn that true peace cannot be found in external circumstances. It must be cultivated within, independent of external chaos. I started practicing mindfulness in simple ways, noticing the warmth of my tea, the feeling of the breeze, the quiet rhythm of my breath. These small acts of presence, initially born out of a need to distract from pain, slowly became powerful tools for cultivating inner tranquility. This inner peace wasn't the absence of problems. It was the ability to navigate problems without being completely overwhelmed by them. It was a quiet knowing that even when life raged around me, there was a steady, unshakable core within, connected to divine serenity. This spiritual discipline, born from necessity, became a cherished gift. It taught me that true freedom is not the absence of constraint, but the liberation from internal turmoil. It was a profound realization that God's presence brings a peace that the world cannot give nor take away. Cultivating this inner stillness was a profound testament to God's guiding hand. It showed me that even when external structures collapse, an internal sanctuary can be built, preparing me to not only sustain my own peace, but to teach others how to find theirs amidst their own life storms. The journey also led me to a renewed appreciation for the often overlooked blessings in life. When you are stripped of your most fundamental securities, the simple act of having food, warmth, or a kind word from a stranger becomes a profound gift. This shift in perspective fostered deep gratitude. I learned to see God's hand in the smallest details: an unexpected check, a friend's timely phone call, the beauty of a sunrise. These weren't just coincidences. They were daily affirmations of divine care, gentle reminders that I was seen, cared for, and never truly abandoned. This cultivation of gratitude became a powerful antidote to despair. It shifted my focus from what I had lost to what I still had, however meager it might seem. It allowed me to find joy in the present moment rather than perpetually lamenting the past or fearing the future. This wasn't a forced positivity, but a genuine, heartfelt recognition of grace. It was a practice that rewired my brain, training it to seek out the good, even amidst persistent challenges, knowing that God's mercies are new every morning, even on the hardest days. This profound sense of gratitude became an integral part of my spiritual DNA, fortifying my faith and allowing me to move forward with a heart full of thanks. It was a powerful demonstration of how God can transform our perception of reality, even in the face of immense personal loss. The specific nature of my loss, being removed from my home by my son, also sparked a deeper inquiry into the concept of generational legacies and the complexities of family wounds. It led me to consider how patterns of behavior, both positive and negative, can echo through generations. This reflection was not about assigning blame, but about understanding the broader context of human relationships and the subtle ways our past influences our present. It was a spiritual and psychological exploration, seeking wisdom beyond my immediate pain to understand human brokenness more broadly. I realized that every family carries its own unique history, its own unaddressed hurts and unspoken expectations. My situation, while deeply personal, became a lens through which to view these broader human experiences, fostering a deeper sense of compassion for all involved, including my son. This deeper understanding helped me to release some of the personal burden, recognizing that my son's actions, while hurtful, were likely rooted in his own complex journey, perhaps influenced by patterns and experiences that predated me. It was a step towards a more detached, yet loving, perspective. This exploration of generational dynamics became an unexpected facet of God's purpose for me. It allowed me to transform a deeply personal wound into a broader understanding of human experience, preparing me to offer insights that transcend individual circumstances, connecting to universal themes. The experience of losing everything tangible forced me to reevaluate my definition of security. Before, security was intertwined with ownership, with property, with a stable income. After, it became about an inner knowing, a spiritual anchor that no external force could take away. I learned that true security is found not in what you possess, but in who possesses you, in your relationship with God. This realization was profoundly liberating, freeing me from the anxieties of material loss and redirecting my focus towards cultivating an enduring spiritual wealth. This shift wasn't a naive disregard for practical needs, but a transformation of where my ultimate trust lay. I still sought practical solutions, but my peace was no longer contingent on them. It rested in a deeper assurance that God would provide, in His own timing and His own way. My journey became a testament to the words of Matthew 6:33. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. This truth, once theoretical, became the living blueprint of my new life, guiding every decision and calming every fear. This redefinition of security was a core element of God's purpose for me. It not only strengthened my own faith, but also equipped me to share this powerful truth with others who often mistake worldly possessions for lasting peace, leading them to a more profound understanding of true abundance. As my journey unfolded, I became acutely aware of how much I had relied on external validation and the approval of others, particularly from my family. Losing my home and the stability of that relationship stripped away these external benchmarks, forcing me to find my worth within. This was a painful but necessary process of self-discovery. I learned that my value does not diminish because of someone else's actions or perceptions. My worth is inherent, divinely bestowed, and unchangeable, regardless of life's unpredictable turns or personal betrayals. This realization brought immense freedom. I no longer felt the constant pressure to please, to conform, or to prove myself. My peace became rooted in my identity as a beloved child of God, a truth that transcended any earthly judgment or societal expectation. It was a profound act of spiritual liberation, allowing me to stand more authentically in who I am, unburdened by the need for external affirmation. This inner strength became a powerful foundation, enabling me to offer genuine support to others without seeking anything in return. This journey of reclaiming my inherent worth was a pivotal aspect of God's purpose for me. It not only fostered my own spiritual independence, but also equipped me to guide others in discovering their own divinely given value, irrespective of their circumstances or past wounds. The healing process also revealed the profound importance of prayer, not just as a ritual, but as a living, breathing conversation with God. In my deepest despair, my prayers were often broken, angry, and confused, yet they were heard and met with a gentle, unwavering presence. I learned that God doesn't require eloquent words or perfect faith. He desires an honest heart. It was in those raw, vulnerable moments of pouring out my soul that I felt most connected, most seen, and most comforted by His divine companionship, a connection that sustained me. Prayer became my lifeline, my constant source of strength and guidance. Whether it was a silent plea, a grateful whisper, or a persistent plea for understanding, each act of communion deepened my trust and broadened my understanding of God's active involvement in my life. This renewed appreciation for prayer transformed my entire spiritual outlook, It moved from being a duty to being a genuine necessity, a continuous dialogue that brought clarity, comfort, and an unwavering sense of being accompanied through every step of my challenging journey. This cultivation of a deeper prayer life was instrumental in recognizing God's intricate purpose. It allowed me to discern His voice amidst the noise of my pain, preparing me to not only share my story, but to genuinely encourage others to seek solace and direction through their own heartfelt conversations with the divine. One of the most profound aspects of God's purpose was realizing how my situation helped me to become a more effective advocate for the vulnerable. Having experienced displacement and the sting of abandonment, I understood the bureaucratic hurdles and emotional toll faced by those without stable homes. My empathy wasn't theoretical, it was lived. This allowed me to speak with authority and genuine passion when discussing issues related to homelessness, family support, and community resources. I could put a human face to the statistics, drawing from my own visceral understanding of the struggle. I found myself advocating for better support systems, volunteering to guide others through complex application processes, and simply being a listening ear for those who felt unheard. This active role gave me a profound sense of purpose, far beyond personal survival. This transformation from recipient of kindness to active giver and advocate felt like a sacred duty. It was a powerful confirmation that my hardship was not in vain, but was precisely the training ground God had used to equip me for a larger mission of compassion and justice. This direct application of my pain to a broader social purpose was a remarkable testament to God's redemptive plan. It clarified that my unique experience of loss was designed to empower me to champion the cause of others, bringing hope and practical aid where it was most needed. The journey also highlighted the incredible power of small, consistent acts of faith. When faced with overwhelming despair, it's easy to feel paralyzed. I learned that even the smallest step, taken in faith, can create ripples that eventually lead to significant transformation. It was never about grand gestures, but about waking up each day, choosing hope over despair, and taking one small, practical step forward. Whether it was making a phone call, researching a resource, or simply spending time in quiet prayer, these incremental efforts accumulated into momentum. These small acts, born of trust, gradually built a new foundation beneath me. They demonstrated that faith isn't just a passive belief, but an active engagement with life, an ongoing partnership with God, where every tiny effort contributes to the unfolding of His larger plan. I often share this with others. Don't underestimate the power of starting small. When you feel like you can't see the whole staircase, just take the first step in faith. This practical wisdom, born from my own struggle, has resonated deeply with many who feel overwhelmed. This emphasis on consistent, faith-filled action became a cornerstone of my message. It showcased how God's purpose unfolds not just through dramatic interventions, but through the diligent and persistent efforts we make, trusting that each small step is guided by His unseen hand. My experience also reshaped my understanding of divine protection. Before, I might have equated protection with the absence of suffering. After, I understood it as God's steadfast presence through the suffering, preserving my spirit and guiding me even when my physical world crumbled. It was the realization that protection isn't about being shielded from every storm, but about being given the strength and the tools to navigate them, emerging stronger and more resilient on the other side. This was a deeper, more profound form of divine care. I saw God's protection in the unexpected shelter, in the friends who appeared precisely when needed, in the quiet strength that prevented me from succumbing to despair. It wasn't about avoiding the pain. It was about being sustained through it, demonstrating His enduring faithfulness. This redefined concept of protection brought immense comfort and peace. It allowed me to face life's uncertainties with a quiet confidence, knowing that no matter what challenges arose, God's protective presence would be my constant companion, an unshakable fortress for my soul. This vital understanding of divine protection became a powerful element of my testimony. It helped others to reframe their own hardships, encouraging them to see God's hand not just in deliverance from trouble, but in the unwavering strength He provides to endure and overcome. The ultimate clarity of God's purpose often comes with the passage of significant time, allowing for reflection and the gathering of all the disparate threads of experience. For me, years later meant seeing the full tapestry, understanding how each painful knot and unexpected color contributed to a beautiful, complex design. It was like looking at a pointillist painting up close. Initially, just dots of color and seeming chaos. But stepping back, seeing it from a distance, the image fully formed, vibrant and meaningful. My life, with all its heartbreak, was slowly revealing itself as such a masterpiece of divine design. This long-term perspective is crucial for anyone navigating profound loss. It encourages patience and discourages premature judgments about the meaning of suffering. It affirms that God's plans are often grander and more intricate than our immediate perceptions can grasp. This journey taught me that God is not bound by our human timelines. His purposes unfold with divine precision, sometimes requiring seasons of waiting, seasons of growth, and seasons of quiet reflection before the full scope of His incredible wisdom can be truly appreciated. This profound appreciation for divine timing and the holistic view of my life's narrative became a powerful component of my message. It invited others to trust in the longer arc of God's story, inspiring them to hold on to hope, knowing that their own purpose may simply be awaiting its perfect revelation. If you're finding resonance in my journey, perhaps feeling a similar weight of loss or confusion, I want to gently invite you to consider your own moments of unexpected grace. Look for the small kindnesses, the subtle signs that might be whispers from above, assuring you that you are seen. It was in those quiet, overlooked moments that my perspective began to shift, where I first recognized that God was indeed at work, even when I felt most abandoned. Your journey may have similar markers, waiting to be noticed amidst the noise of pain. This isn't about ignoring the very real pain you might be experiencing, but about creating space for hope to enter. It's about remembering that even when everything seems to go wrong, faith can be an anchor, providing stability when the world feels unstable. I encourage you to open your heart to these possibilities. Sometimes, the most profound truths are found not in grand pronouncements, but in the gentle nudges and quiet confirmations that appear when we least expect them, guiding us towards healing. Recognizing these subtle divine interventions is a powerful first step in discerning God's purpose in your own life. It helps prepare your spirit to see beyond immediate pain, moving you towards a deeper, more meaningful connection to your faith and a clearer path forward. My experience also brought an unexpected clarity regarding the true meaning of resilience. It's not about being stoic or emotionless in the face of adversity, but about allowing yourself to feel the full spectrum of emotions, the sadness, the anger, the fear, and still choosing to move forward with hope. I learned that resilience is a muscle that strengthens with use, not a trait you either have or don't. Each time I faced a setback, each time despair tried to pull me under, and I chose to reach for faith, that muscle grew, making me more capable of handling future challenges. This proactive approach to resilience means consciously cultivating practices that nourish your spirit, whether through prayer, community, or simply moments of quiet reflection. It's about being intentional in your pursuit of well-being, even when circumstances are challenging. I often tell others that resilience is deeply connected to our faith. It's the belief that even when we are weak, God is strong, and He will carry us through. It's not about our own strength alone, but about tapping into a divine power that empowers us to persevere. This active understanding of resilience became a guiding principle for my life. It revealed that God's purpose often involves equipping us with the spiritual fortitude to not only survive, but to thrive in the face of profound adversity, enabling us to inspire others with our unwavering spirit. A crucial aspect of my healing and understanding of purpose involved embracing vulnerability. For a long time, I tried to hide my pain and the circumstances of my displacement, fearing judgment or pity. This isolation, however, only amplified my suffering. It was through sharing my story, initially with close friends, and then more broadly, that I found profound liberation. Vulnerability, I discovered, is not a weakness, but a strength, a pathway to authentic connection and genuine healing. It allowed others to truly see and support me. When I opened up, others in turn felt safe to share their own struggles, creating a powerful ripple effect of empathy and understanding. This mutual vulnerability became a cornerstone of the supportive community that has grown around me, enriching my life immensely. This embrace of vulnerability was a direct invitation from God to step out of the shadows of shame and into the light of shared humanity. It taught me that our brokenness, when acknowledged and shared, can become a bridge connecting us to others and to divine grace. This commitment to vulnerability became an essential part of my message. It revealed that God's purpose often involves transforming our deepest insecurities into opportunities for genuine connection and authentic testimony, inspiring others to find strength in their own honest sharing. My transformation also involved a significant redefinition of success. Before, I might have measured success in terms of material comfort, family harmony, or societal recognition. After, it became about spiritual growth, inner peace, and the ability to serve others with a compassionate heart. This shift meant that my metrics for a good life changed dramatically. I began to value moments of quiet contemplation, acts of selfless service, and the deepening of my faith far more than any external achievement or accumulation of wealth. This new definition brought immense contentment. It liberated me from the relentless pursuit of worldly goals that often leave us feeling empty, replacing it with a profound satisfaction rooted in living a life aligned with divine purpose and genuine human connection. It's a testament to the truth that sometimes losing what we thought we wanted is the only way to find what we truly need. God used my immense loss to strip away the superficial, revealing a deeper, more meaningful path to true fulfillment and spiritual abundance. This redefined understanding of success became a guiding star for my new life. It not only brought me profound personal peace, but also shaped the core of my message, inviting others to reevaluate their own definitions of achievement and discover true richness in spiritual growth and service. My journey taught me that true freedom is not about being free from consequences or pain, but about being free from the prison of bitterness and resentment. While my son's actions caused deep pain, holding on to anger would have only chained me to that past, preventing any possibility of a future filled with peace. This freedom, hard-won through much prayer and introspection, was a profound liberation. It allowed me to breathe again, to see beauty in the world, and to engage with life without the constant weight of unresolved hurt. It was a conscious choice to release the burden, even when it felt unjust. This wasn't about excusing or forgetting what happened, but about making a deliberate decision to not let someone else's actions dictate my emotional and spiritual state. It was an act of self-preservation, a commitment to my own well-being that God deeply honored. The peace that emerged from this internal liberation was undeniable. It transformed my outlook, allowing me to view my past not as a perpetual wound, but as a testament to God's incredible power to bring healing and redemption even from the deepest betrayals. This profound understanding of spiritual freedom became a cornerstone of my message. It showcased how God's purpose often involves leading us through the difficult path of emotional release, ultimately bringing us to a place of lasting peace and spiritual resilience. The experience of losing my home also illuminated the fleeting nature of earthly attachments and the enduring power of spiritual connection. Before, I perhaps placed too much emphasis on possessions as symbols of security or achievement. Their sudden loss stripped away that illusion. I realized that what truly lasts are not the things we accumulate, but the love we share, the faith we cultivate, and the impact we have on others. These are the treasures that cannot be stolen, evicted, or destroyed. They are etched into the fabric of eternity. This profound shift in perspective was both humbling and liberating. It freed me from the anxiety of holding on to things too tightly and allowed me to invest my energy and heart into what truly holds eternal value, aligning my priorities with a divine blueprint. It's a powerful reminder that our true home is not of this world, but in the spiritual realm, in our relationship with God. This spiritual grounding became an unshakable foundation, providing comfort and stability when everything else felt transient and uncertain. This deeper understanding of enduring spiritual wealth became a pivotal part of God's purpose for me. It not only brought me profound personal peace, but also allowed me to guide others toward a reevaluation of their own priorities, discovering true richness in faith and connection. As my journey progressed, I noticed how my personal story resonated particularly with others who had experienced the painful reality of mães abandonadas or filhos distantes, mothers abandoned, or children who have distanced themselves. This shared experience created an immediate, powerful bond. They would often approach me, their eyes filled with tears, sharing their own similar narratives of heartbreak and confusion. My story became a mirror, reflecting their unspoken pain and giving them permission to articulate their own feelings of loss and betrayal. I learned that simply listening, without judgment or attempting to fix their situation, was often the greatest gift I could offer. It was in that space of shared empathy that true healing began, allowing them to feel seen, heard, and understood in their unique pain. My role evolved into being a beacon of hope for these specific groups, assuring them that even when human relationships fail, God's love remains constant, and that purpose can still be found amidst the wreckage of family dreams. This was a profound calling. This specific connection to those navigating family abandonment was a clear manifestation of God's purpose. It confirmed that my personal trial had equipped me to minister to a very specific, deeply hurting segment of society, offering authentic comfort and spiritual guidance. The unfolding of God's purpose also brought a profound realization of the importance of community as a reflection of divine love. When my biological family structure fractured, a new, vibrant community emerged around me, built on shared faith and mutual support. This community wasn't a replacement for what I lost, but an expansion, demonstrating God's boundless capacity to provide connection and belonging in unexpected forms. It became a living testament to the biblical truth that we are not meant to walk through life alone. These relationships, forged in adversity, became a source of immense strength, laughter, and encouragement. They were the tangible hands and feet of God, providing practical help, emotional solace, and spiritual nourishment when I needed it most. I learned to lean on others, to accept help, and to embrace the reciprocal nature of true community. It taught me humility and the beauty of interdependence, reinforcing the truth that we are all interconnected parts of a larger, divinely ordered body. This vital understanding of the role of community became a cornerstone of my new life. It showcased how God's purpose often involves weaving us into a tapestry of supportive relationships, not only for our own healing, but to empower us to extend that same love to others. One of the most encouraging and often unexpected ways God revealed His purpose was through what I now call divine synchronicity. These were seemingly coincidental events, perfectly timed encounters, or resources appearing just when they were most desperately needed. For instance, at a moment of deep financial concern, a long-forgotten small inheritance or a distant relative's unexpected gift would surface, providing just enough to bridge a gap. These weren't massive windfalls, but precisely what was necessary to sustain me. These occurrences were too frequent and too perfectly timed to be mere chance. They felt like gentle nudges from God, reassuring me that I was being watched over, that my needs were known, and that His providence was always at work, even in the most subtle ways. These moments of synchronicity strengthened my faith immensely, transforming abstract belief into concrete experience. They were tangible affirmations that God was intricately involved in the details of my life, weaving a path even when it seemed I was adrift. Recognizing these divine patterns became a powerful part of my spiritual awakening. It prepared me to not only trust in God's daily provision, but to also encourage others to open their eyes to these subtle miracles, seeing God's purpose unfold in the rhythm of their own lives. The journey of understanding God's purpose also involved a profound deepening of my personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Before, my faith was perhaps more academic or traditional. After, it became a deeply intimate, living, breathing connection, forged in the fires of adversity. I found myself relying on His teachings and His presence in ways I never had before. His words about enduring hardship, about love, and about the Father's unwavering care took on a new, urgent relevance, becoming a personal roadmap through my wilderness. This intimacy with Christ was not a result of easy times, but of desperate need. It was in my brokenness that I truly reached out and found him to be not just a historical figure, but a present, comforting, and guiding companion, walking beside me through every tear and triumph. This personal communion transformed my entire spiritual outlook. It moved beyond intellectual assent to a heartfelt, experiential knowing that fundamentally reshaped my identity and instilled an unshakable peace even amidst life's most profound uncertainties. This deepening of my faith in Christ became the very core of my purpose. It allowed me to share a testimony that wasn't just about surviving loss, but about discovering a divine relationship that makes all things new, guiding others toward their own transformative encounter with His love. Part of God's purpose involved revealing to me the wisdom in surrender. For a long time, I fought against my circumstances, clinging to the idea of how things should be. This resistance only prolonged my suffering and kept me from seeing the new path God was opening. I learned that surrender is not about giving up, but about letting go of control and trusting in a higher power. It's about acknowledging that sometimes our plans are not God's plans, and His ways, though initially painful, ultimately lead to greater good. This act of spiritual surrender was deeply challenging but profoundly liberating. It allowed me to release the immense burden of trying to force outcomes and instead open myself to the divine flow, trusting that God's wisdom far surpassed my limited understanding. It was in surrendering my desire for my old life back that I began to truly embrace the new life God was offering. This act of releasing control brought a peace that defied logic, a quiet confidence that I was exactly where I needed to be, even if it wasn't where I expected. This profound lesson in surrender became a cornerstone of my spiritual journey and message. It showed how God's purpose often unfolds when we release our grip on what we thought we wanted, allowing Him to guide us to a future far richer and more meaningful than we could have imagined. My experience also led me to a profound understanding of faith as an active choice, not merely a passive belief. Every day, especially in the early stages of my displacement, I had to consciously choose faith over fear, hope over despair, and trust over cynicism. This wasn't an easy choice. It required daily discipline and a relentless pursuit of spiritual truth, even when my emotions screamed otherwise. But each time I chose faith, however small the act, it strengthened my resolve and brought a quiet sense of victory. This active faith became my shield and my compass. It allowed me to navigate uncertainty with a quiet confidence, knowing that God was with me, even when I couldn't see the path ahead. It transformed a theoretical concept into a lived, dynamic reality. I often share with others that faith is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Even in your darkest moments, if you can find one tiny spark of hope and hold on to it, that is an act of faith that God will honor and multiply. This emphasis on choosing active faith became a powerful element of my testimony. It demonstrated that God's purpose often involves challenging us to step into a deeper level of trust, transforming us into resilient individuals who inspire others to make that same courageous choice. The journey also revealed the transformative power of perspective. What initially felt like an ultimate betrayal and abandonment slowly, over time, began to appear as a catalyst for profound growth and a redirection towards a higher calling. It was a complete shift in viewing my story. I realized that setbacks can often be setups for something greater. The closed door of my old home wasn't the end. It was the unexpected beginning of a new chapter, one filled with richer meaning, deeper connections, and a more profound understanding of God's love. This shift in perspective wasn't about minimizing the pain I endured, but about placing it within a larger, more hopeful narrative. It allowed me to see the wisdom in God's seemingly harsh provisions, understanding that sometimes the pruning is necessary for abundant growth. This newfound lens allowed me to view not just my past, but also future challenges with a different eye. I learned to look for the hidden blessings, the lessons embedded in hardship, and the opportunities for growth that often emerge from difficult circumstances. This transformative power of perspective became a vital part of my message. It showcased how God's purpose often involves helping us reframe our most painful experiences, guiding us towards seeing the bigger picture and discovering the hidden blessings within every trial. Throughout this entire process, my gratitude for the unexpected blessings became boundless. The simple warmth of a shared meal, a quiet moment of prayer with a new friend, the strength found in daily scripture readings, these became treasures far more valuable than any material possession. I often paused to consciously acknowledge these gifts, realizing that even amidst ongoing challenges, God's grace was perpetually present. This active cultivation of gratitude shifted my emotional landscape, replacing despair with a quiet, enduring sense of thankfulness. This wasn't a superficial or forced positivity, but a genuine appreciation for the subtle ways God sustained me, nurtured me, and revealed His presence. It demonstrated that even in the aftermath of deep loss, there is always something to be grateful for if we choose to see it. My heart became attuned to the whispers of grace, recognizing that every sunrise offered a new opportunity for hope, and every act of kindness was a tangible expression of divine love. This consistent acknowledgement kept my spirit buoyant, even through lingering shadows. This profound sense of gratitude became an inseparable part of my testimony. It allowed me to share a message not just of survival, but of thriving through thankfulness, inspiring others to find their own reasons for daily gratitude, no matter their circumstances. My journey also taught me the profound significance of living authentically, of aligning my outward life with my inner truth. When everything external was stripped away, the importance of genuine self-expression and honesty, particularly in my faith, became paramount. I learned to shed the masks I might have unconsciously worn, to embrace my story, flaws and all, and to live with an open heart. This authenticity not only brought me inner peace, but also attracted genuine connections with others who valued sincerity over superficiality. This commitment to authenticity permeated my spiritual life as well. My prayers became more honest, my questions more raw, and my relationship with God more real. I discovered that God desires our genuine selves, not polished performances. This profound shift towards authentic living was a direct result of my hardship. It forced me to confront who I truly was, beyond titles or possessions, and to embrace a life rooted in sincerity, integrity, and an unshakable connection to my divine self. This journey towards authenticity became a powerful part of God's purpose for me. It not only brought me immense personal freedom, but also equipped me to encourage others to embrace their true selves, finding strength and connection in their own genuine expressions of faith. One of the most powerful revelations was understanding that God's purpose is ultimately about transformation. My old self, perhaps somewhat complacent and secure, had to be broken down for a new, stronger, and more spiritually attuned self to emerge. This transformation wasn't easy. It involved shedding old beliefs, confronting deep-seated fears, and rebuilding my entire understanding of life and faith. But the outcome was a profound sense of renewal, a true rebirth of spirit and purpose. I realized that sometimes God allows us to experience complete shattering so that He can meticulously put us back together, not as we were, but as He designed us to be, more resilient, more compassionate, and more deeply aligned with His will. This wasn't just about coping with loss, it was about being refined by it. The fire of adversity, though painful, served to purify my spirit, removing impurities and strengthening the core of my faith in ways comfort never could. This understanding of transformative purpose became the central theme of my testimony. It showcased how God uses our deepest wounds not to punish us, but to sculpt us into something beautiful and powerfully impactful, inspiring others to embrace their own journey of spiritual metamorphosis. The journey also led me to a profound understanding of inner resilience as a spiritual gift. It was not a strength I possessed entirely on my own, but a grace extended by God, enabling me to endure far more than I believed myself capable of handling. I learned that true strength is often found in our most vulnerable moments, when we acknowledge our limitations and lean entirely on divine power. This reliance on God's strength, rather than my own, became the bedrock of my ability to overcome. This spiritual resilience allowed me to face each day, not with dread, but with a quiet confidence that I would be given what I needed to persevere. It was a tangible experience of God's promise to never leave us nor forsake us, even in the direst circumstances. My experience became a living testament to the biblical truth that His power is made perfect in weakness. This wasn't just a verse I believed. It was a reality I lived, experiencing God's incredible strength manifesting precisely when I felt most undone. This profound understanding of spiritual resilience became a central pillar of my message. It revealed that God's purpose often involves demonstrating His unfailing strength through our human weakness, empowering us to inspire others to tap into that same divine fortitude in their own trials. My story has become a testament to the belief that even in the most profound darkness, light will always emerge. There were days when the shadows felt impenetrable, when hope seemed a distant memory. Yet, persistently, relentlessly, glimmers of light appeared, guiding my way forward. These glimmers often came in the form of a kind word, an unexpected act of generosity, a sunrise painting the sky, or a quiet whisper in my heart that reassured me I was not forgotten. They were small beacons, but cumulatively, they illuminated my path. I learned that light isn't always a sudden, blinding flash. Often, it's a gradual dawn, slowly pushing back the night. This patient unfolding of hope taught me to appreciate the subtle progression, to trust that even in the longest night, morning will eventually come. This enduring presence of light, even through the years of struggle, became a powerful symbol of God's unwavering faithfulness. It reinforced the message that despair is never the final answer, and that hope is always available, even when it feels elusive. This unwavering belief in the eventual triumph of light became an essential part of my message. It showcased how God's purpose often involves guiding us through profound darkness to ultimately reveal the brilliance of His enduring hope, inspiring others to hold fast to their own dawn. The revelation of God's purpose wasn't a single event, but a continuous process, unfolding layer by layer. It taught me that life's greatest lessons are often revealed not in grand, instantaneous moments, but through persistent reflection, patient observation, and a willingness to see beyond immediate pain. Each setback, each small victory, each new relationship formed, contributed to the ever-clarifying picture of God's intricate design. It was like pieces of a vast puzzle slowly coming together, revealing a narrative far more profound and beautiful than I could have ever imagined. This ongoing revelation fostered a deep sense of wonder and awe. It showed me that God is an active, living presence, constantly working in our lives, guiding us, shaping us, and revealing His wisdom in ways that are often subtle, yet undeniably powerful. I learned to embrace the mystery, to trust the process, and to find peace in the journey itself, rather than solely focusing on the destination. This long-term perspective brought a profound sense of tranquility and purpose to my everyday existence. This continuous unfolding of purpose became a vital part of my testimony. It encouraged others to remain open to God's ongoing revelations in their own lives, inspiring them to seek meaning and growth not just in moments of clarity, but in the entire, winding journey of faith. The profound shift in my life also brought a deeper understanding of true joy. Before, joy might have been tied to circumstances, to good news, or to celebratory events. After, I discovered a resilient joy that could coexist with pain, a spiritual wellspring that flowed even through sorrow. This wasn't a superficial happiness that ignored hardship. Instead, it was a deeper contentment, a quiet gladness rooted in my faith and in the unwavering knowledge of God's presence. It was the joy of the Lord which truly became my strength. I found joy in simple things: the warmth of a cup of coffee, the laughter of a friend, the peace of a quiet moment in nature, or the privilege of helping someone else. These small moments, imbued with grace, became sources of profound, sustainable gladness. This resilient joy became a testament to the fact that God's purpose is not to remove all suffering, but to infuse our lives with a spiritual joy that transcends it. It's a gift that allows us to find beauty and hope, even when circumstances are far from perfect. This understanding of enduring joy became a pivotal part of my message. It demonstrated how God's purpose transforms our capacity for happiness, enabling us to experience a profound spiritual contentment that encourages others to seek their own wellspring of divine gladness. The journey also provided a powerful lens through which to view biblical narratives of loss and restoration. Stories of Job, Joseph, and countless others who faced profound betrayal and hardship suddenly resonated with a deeper, visceral understanding. I saw my own story reflected in theirs, realizing that I was part of a larger, timeless narrative of faith, suffering, and ultimate divine redemption. This connection to ancient wisdom brought immense comfort and a sense of belonging to a vast community of believers. Their experiences weren't just historical accounts. They were living examples, blueprints for navigating my own wilderness. They taught me about patience, endurance, and the unfailing character of God, even when His plans seemed inscrutable. This profound connection to biblical narratives transformed my understanding of Scripture, making it a living, breathing guide for my life. It was no longer just words on a page, but a direct conversation with divine wisdom, illuminating my path forward. This integration of my personal experience with timeless biblical truths became a powerful element of God's purpose for me. It allowed me to share a message that is deeply personal yet universally relevant, guiding others to find strength and clarity in their own sacred texts. Ultimately, my experience led to a profound deepening of my personal faith, which I now recognize as the most significant outcome of God's purpose. It was a journey from a faith that was sometimes comfortable and unquestioned, to one that was tested, refined, and ultimately unshakable. This wasn't a superficial faith that denied pain. It was a gritty, resilient faith that acknowledged the brokenness of the world, but chose to believe in God's unwavering goodness and control. It became the bedrock of my entire being, sustaining me through every storm. I learned that true faith isn't about having all the answers, but about trusting the one who does. It's about surrendering our limited understanding to His infinite wisdom, even when the path ahead is shrouded in darkness and confusion. This deepened faith is not just for my own comfort. It's a testimony to share, a beacon of hope for others who may be questioning God's presence in their own moments of despair. It is the ultimate gift that emerged from the ashes of what once was. This profound transformation of my faith stands as the clearest revelation of God's purpose for my life. It empowers me to share this message with authentic conviction, inspiring others to discover an enduring faith that sustains them no matter the trials they face. Now, for those who might be navigating their own valleys of loss and abandonment, I want to offer some practical steps based on what truly helped me. First, allow yourself to feel your emotions fully, without judgment. Your pain is real, and acknowledging it is the first step towards healing. Second, seek out a supportive community or a trusted confidant. Whether it's a faith group, a grief support network, or just one empathetic friend, sharing your burden can lighten its weight significantly. You are not meant to walk this path alone. Third, engage in small acts of self-care and gratitude. Even tiny moments of peace or acknowledging a blessing, however small, can shift your perspective. These aren't quick fixes, but consistent practices that build spiritual resilience over time. Fourth, keep your dialogue with God open and honest. Tell Him everything: your anger, your confusion, your fear. His grace is big enough for all of it, and it's in those raw conversations that true connection and guidance often emerge, leading you towards understanding. Remember, discernment of God's purpose rarely comes instantly. It often unfolds over time. Be patient with yourself and with the process. Trust that even when everything feels chaotic, there is a benevolent hand working behind the scenes, preparing you for a future filled with deeper meaning. For those seeking further support and resources, consider exploring local community centers that offer support groups for individuals experiencing loss or family estrangement. Many faith-based organizations also provide counseling services and spiritual guidance rooted in compassion and understanding. I found immense value in the writings of spiritual leaders who have themselves navigated profound suffering. Reading their testimonies and reflections can offer solace and a broader perspective on the redemptive power of pain, reminding you that you are part of a larger story of resilience. Be realistic about the timeline for healing and clarity. This is a journey, not a sprint. There will be good days and challenging days. Allow yourself the grace to experience both, understanding that progress is often incremental and rarely linear when dealing with deep wounds. If this story has resonated with you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences and insights can be a source of strength and encouragement for others who are silently struggling, fostering a community of shared hope and understanding. Finally, remember the unwavering message that anchored me through my darkest hours. Even when everything seems finished, God continues to be in control. Hold on to that truth and let it be the light that guides you through your own valley, transforming your pain into purpose years later.